Welcome back. We do apologize for that mishap as we continue off with the conversation earlier. We are still joined in studio by Prinz Goagoseb, who's basically joining us to talk to us about the importance of the youth participating in the upcoming elections. Prinz, we do apologize for that, but we were just having a conversation as to why it's important for the youth to practice their democratic rights. Yes, let's just continue and pick up where we left off.
Thank you. Continuing as of where I left off, or where we left off before the cut off, I was actually saying that how can you make a malice of something where you feel you don't need to be part of? As in, how do you stand up for your rights? Okay, well, everyone feels I have the right to do what I want. I have the right to say what I want. It's freedom of speech. But how do you actually want to stand up for what matters to you if you aren't taking part in what matters to what is around you? So I think it's a very, or not that I think, but I know it's a very important thing to take part in it and to also just show that you stand for what matters in your country. And as Namibians, in the past 7 months, I've seen that if we are to work at our level best, we can actually be a united country and stand together, and we can change Namibia into any positive thing that we want it to be.
Yeah.
By just standing together.
All right. Now, Prinz, we do definitely have some of the youth that are very basically disengaged from political issues and political affairs. But what do you think are some of these main reasons that makes the youth feel disengaged? And also, how can we just bring them back into the conversation and also just for them, making them feel more included?
Thank you. That's one conversation I had with a friend of mine just a week or two ago, and we were actually looking at ways of how to bring, okay, well, I'm also part of the youth, but in terms of leadership, we were brainstorming on how we can actually bring the youth to interact into activities that brings us to a point where, such as elections or politics, if as leaders we are to involve the youth. What do I mean by involve the youth? We can, such as now speaking as elections, we can probably introduce a thing of mock elections into schools and universities and just have conversations about, not pertinently speaking about politics, not just about that, but just the importance of where we want our country to be and where we want to bring it to. So having the cold, serious conversations with the youth in schools and places where they are. It's also a thing of having to speak the language of the youth. Yeah. What is that? It's bringing what matters to them to action, which is education, creating jobs. And what I also mean by education is that now as leaders, we see that there are actually people that matriculants, so to say, that actually finished school and some are just left at home. Just one of the, if I can actually mention that, just one of the two girls I'm mentoring mentioned that, what's the point of voting? Because I brought this topic up in the group as in, what do you think are the few things that
what your answer was.
that I can actually talk about? And they actually said, what's the point of voting if we voted before and now it's a thing of our education is not even seen? We are now here at home and we feel as though we are not seen. But my answer to that was actually, there is a point of voting because you can only make yourself heard enough if you had stood up for what matters to you. So my point here is stand up and vote, but also make yourself heard, as in what are the points that you want to bring to your leaders to take into action. That can only happen if you are to take part in the campaigns, in the community conversations that probably come up, or just ask that someone arranges a community meeting where you are in the town or cities you are. So it's a thing of, it somehow also becomes a personal thing, because now if you don't want to stand up for the change in your country, are you able to stand up for the change in your house, in your home, in your room.
In the education system.
In the education system. So you can only make a change if you are to speak up and stand up for what matters.
Yeah, I love how earlier you spoke on education, that it's important to educate the youth on, voting and all that. Perhaps also just understanding why it's important to vote, maybe going through the parties, manifestos. But from your perspective, how can we make voting more exciting and interesting for the youth?
Just as I mentioned, probably take the thing of mock elections into a serious factor. What I mean by mock elections is what I also said or mentioned earlier, which is speaking to the youth in schools, not just schools, universities as well, bringing make it. Now, the thing about politics and elections is, as part of the youth, and as I've also sat down with a few of them, I've got to understand their side and my side of the story, which is that we feel, or they feel, that politics and elections is a cold talk, which is only a thing of adults. I'll deal with it when I become an adult. But no, let's deal with it now. It's a thing of burning the bridge when you're at it. So now the bridge has come to you, where you have to stand up for what matters to you. So to also speak or just bring more info onto why I said the mock elections is that speaking the language of the youth, you involve them, they see that they're now involved. It's not just the thing of, yeah, you need me, now you have to come to me. Involving them through campaigns of music, just having conversations with them, seeing them, or just even making school visits as a party, so that they can see that, no, we are involved.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Prinz, unfortunately, that's all the time we had for you. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
No. All right. Good morning. Namibia continues shortly as Denver and I will be back to say our goodbyes for this Monday's edition.